I'm sure I can't be the only person that's noticed tons of depressing content, or at least a rise in depressing content over the months, where, especially on things like YouTube, other social medias, it seems that more and more of this just sad and, regretful content is just coming out. Where I'll look at the comment section, there are just tons of guys coming together, mourning and just being really upset about all these mistakes and regrets in the past. And I just don't really get it. Right. I mean, part of me gets it, right? Because don't get me wrong, I think, I've definitely had moments where feeling in that very depressing state or almost feeling like I'm the victim all the time, it can feel liberating, right? And it can feel quite freeing where you think, oh, it's not my fault, or, all these things have happened to me, it's just the world, and I'm just, taking all the hits. But at the same time, I just think, look, like I know a few years back, I would literally every evening I go for a walk and I would put on my headphones and I'd listen to some really depressing music. And I'd have literally a playlist of just depressing music and I'd listen to it and I'd go for a walk pretty much every evening, looking up and just, walking and just, yeah, just being sad. And honestly, in the moment, yeah, like it did feel, quite, I guess, somewhat at peace. But actually, it really affected me quite negatively throughout my day and just it wasn't great. And I think just being drawn to the negative content, being drawn to just these upset emotions, I do believe that it just doesn't help us, right? And like, especially if you go to that content on a consistent basis, just, I don't know, like, I think sometimes people view it as a way to feel at ease, but again, I think just long term wise, in terms of when you're trying to, because I think every guy wants to live a better life. Every guy wants to work towards some sort of goal or another, whether that's improving themselves or be able to achieve a certain outcome, whatever. And I just think when you come back to this depressing content, and it's not even just content, but even music as well, when you're listening to all this stuff over and over, like what does that get you thinking? What does that train your mind to think? Like, what does that get you experiencing? Because I know for me, like, I don't know, like life just seemed so much worse. Life just seemed so much grayer than it needed to be. And whenever I would try and work on something and things wouldn't go my way, that was then amplified, right? Or at least it felt amplified, right? And then, for example, if I then go and listen to sad music or watch sad content later, then the mistakes that I made, even if they were quite small, were then amplified later and I'd get really emotional and such. Basically, meaning it just felt pointless. And so again, right, when I'm seeing more sort of depressing content going out and such, and almost stuff where like guys just come together and they just, I don't know, they mourn or they just feel upset together. Although, yeah, some can describe that as like, oh, well, that's quite nice because so on and so forth. Again, I just think, well, like, sure, you can be upset for a period of time, but then surely you need to just push through. Surely you just need to actually, focus on the things that you're, wanting to work on. I feel like so many guys just get stuck, right? And that was me as well, where you just get stuck in the same position, feeling the same regretting thoughts over and over. And it's like, when does that end? And I'm not saying you need to get rid of your past regrets, right? I've obviously got mine as well. But I'm not gonna mourn over them and, sort of get all those thoughts coming flooding back because I'm voluntarily choosing to listen or consume this sort of depressing content that, just keeps popping up. But I mean, hey, like this could just be me. Like let me know if you in the comments if you've been seeing this as well. But I just think that so many of us are drawn to this because it gives us this outlet for us to just simply go, okay, the world's against me. I'm dealing with so many issues and there's nothing I can do about it. And yeah, sure, there is something liberating about that. But I think again, it's like how is this going to benefit you long term if you keep coming back to this, if you keep listening and consuming to this, right? Like, what's that going to do to your mindset? You know, how you're going to approach every single day. But I'll just give you some thought to sit on that. But let me know what your thoughts are on this video. I'll chat soon.